Have you ever noticed that when people are talking with passion and purpose, they tend to use their hands and flail their arms a bit more? Now, certain cultures are a little bit more notorious hand thrashers or speakers, like Italians and also the Jews. Now, they've done research on hand communication and speaking with your hands. I need to stop because now I'm doing it way too much. In the pockets. Research has shown that audiences view speakers that actually use their hands to gesture. They view those people more favorably. They're viewed as warm, agreeable, energetic. On the flip side, people that don't use their hands much or don't gesture much when they speak, or their movements are a bit more robotic in nature, these people are seen as more logical, more systematic, and a bit more cold. I consider myself a master at hand communication and gestures. And so I thought today I would give you some gesture guidelines or some hand talking tips. Alright, now this video is going to get weird fast because there is no set in stone guidelines for speaking with your hand. So what I had to do is I had to basically watch videos of myself and analyze myself doing it in order to try and give some tips. Now, tip number one is know your hand speaking space. Alright, the space in which your hands should be moving, alright, should essentially be from your chest to your waist. Alright, this is the area. Alright, you can reach out a little bit. Alright, as far as how wide, I would say a little bit wider than shoulder width. Now, what happens when you go outside of this hand communication bubble, right? You start going out here, a little bit here, right? Exactly, reaching way far out. This is a little bit more exaggerated, and there's a fine line, bringing us to tip number two. There's a fine line between being expressive and looking crazy. All right, you want to make sure that when you are communicating with your hand, it is done in a disciplined fashion. Tip number three is your gestures should be smooth. All right, fluid. See, it's like this. All right, you're not real jerky, haphazard motions or you'll look like a robot, right? It's casual. It's casual. The wrist is involved, the hands are involved, the arms are involved. It's everything here that is engaged in the communication, the hand communication process. Tip number four is rhythm. All right? Notice when I speak with my hands, when I stop a sentence, my hands are stopping as well. It wouldn't work if I was like, so what do you think, John? Make sure that your hand gestures are in line with the rhythm of your speech pattern. Now, we touched on this a moment ago, but effective hand communication requires you to utilize the entire arm, all right? Because, and this includes your fingers, all right? So, because so many times you'll see somebody and they'll just be right here, right? They'll be like, so, I would like to now discipline you, and you're like, dude, are you? They look like little wooden hands that are coming out of their sleeves, right? Because they don't really have any wrist action or finger action. When you're communicating, you're using all of your digits. You're letting them flow. You're using them all. So, what I'm trying to say to you is that you've got to loosen up. Let them flow, right? You got to just let the feeling move you. This is what we as Italians do so well. It's like our soul is coming out right through our fingertips. And so when we get into a heated conversation, or whenever we're just talking on the phone, all right, you see a little bit, you get into it, right? It's not a bad thing. So many times people are afraid to use their hands because they're like, am I going to seem a little bit too anxious, a little bit too expressive? I say, if you're not using your hands and you're keeping them in your pocket, you look like you don't care. Let them out. Tip number 6 is consistency with your speed. If you're speaking at a specific tempo, your hand gestures should also follow or mirror that tempo. All right, you don't want to be all nice and casual and your hands are going like crazy. You look like you got an issue and you need to go see somebody. It's casual. It's following the same speed. This is all about consistency and flow. Tip number 7, learn your hands. When you speak and communicate with your hands, holding them at a 45-degree angle, palms facing up, this is probably the most ideal position for you to be communicating in because it signifies openness and honesty. Palms up, fingers spread. This is signifying pleading or needing something, while palms down signify power, dominance. Clenched fists mean you're pissed. Finger pointing is viewed as scolding. The steepling gesture, all right? Fingers together, palms away from each other, right here. This means that you know exactly what you're talking about. You're calm, cool, most importantly, collected. Tip number 8 is practice. Practice, 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 practice. What I would recommend, if you're looking for a great way to practice in an environment where you're actually not going to be in front of people and you want to start to learn to use your hands a bit more, I would say get a headset, all right? And when you're talking to people on the phone, start practicing using your hand. Make it a point to actually start getting with it and practicing, all right? Another thing you could do is actually videotape yourself. This is something that has probably helped me over the years. The more you practice, the better at it you're going to be. And eventually it's going to become second nature and part of your body language speech. You know, it's not something that I am conscious of when like my hands, I can't keep them still. If you tried to have me deliver a speech or something with my hands in my pocket or sitting on my hands, I would be super uncomfortable because it's just not natural for me. But there are other people that are not comfortable utilizing their hands in order to communicate or get their point across. All right, they stand up there, maybe they're giving a speech at school, they're giving a presentation at work, and they are just trying to get through that and there is no motion. All right, it looks uncomfortable, it doesn't look natural. All right, we as creatures, all right, are expressive. And the more you express yourself, the more you utilize your hands to communicate, the better off you're going to be. Hopefully, these 8 hand talking tips will help you communicate and get your point across in a more casual, convincing manner, as opposed to looking like Mr. Roboto. Domo, momo, gato, Mr. Roboto. Domo, domo.